drama have an epiphany seeing all their shows today. Starting with Brian Watkins' Epiphany, which gathers a group of people together waiting for an oracle and to create a new tradition against the dreary January blues. Morgan is throwing a dinner party in honor of the holiday of Epiphany rather than the idea. The guest of honor is her nephew Gabriel, who is known for his lofty ideas that the dinner party guests are dying to meet. Now, all these people never read the invitation thoroughly and missed the pages and pages of attachment. So they're pretending that they understood the invitation, but it's very funny. The drinks flow, food is consumed, and ideas are thrown about. But what really is behind this disparate gathering? What does Morgan really want to achieve? This is a very ambiguous play with many thoughts started, but not much follow through. And yet I was completely drawn in and hung on all their words as they brought up various feelings. What helped to keep my attention was a superb cast. This is a kind of thought-provoking play that makes you ponder many things, but whether you have an epiphany is up to you. Happy face minus. Hello, we have some extremely special guests tonight. We've got Sarah Schulman, who has finally gotten her Lady Hamlet on stage after 17 years, and Jennifer Van Dyck, who's been working at it for 13 years. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I want to say, Jennifer Van Dyck, I have been in love with you since Molly Dodd, which is my all-time favorite television show of all time.
Oh my goodness, that's going back in time. I'm thrilled that's part of your theatrical television history. That's great. That was a treat.
Yeah, when you started with Charles Bush, my first thought was, it's a Molly Dodd actress, it's a Molly Dodd actress. And I'm like, and you graduated with Charles Bush, how good is that? And now you're doing Lady Hamlet, which you've been working on for 13 years. But first we should talk to the author who can tell us what Lady Hamlet is.
Thank you. So it's a backstage, front stage comic drama set in 1920. And it's about two great female stage divas who are competing to play the role of Hamlet on Broadway as they compete for the hand of the same Ophelia.
So is this based on a true story? How did you come up with this idea? And did you see Eva Le Gallienne doing Hamlet at 80? She was touring around. She ended up at the Fredonia College near my hometown of Dunkirk.
No, I didn't know that, but it is loosely based on Eva Le Gallienne and Sarah Bernhardt. But it actually started because I had a show at the La Jolla Playhouse with Diane Venora. And of course, she famously played Hamlet at the Public Theater in 1982 with Joseph Papp directing. And, you know, she was the only actor in history to have played Hamlet, Ophelia, and Gertrude. So we spent the whole rehearsal period talking about the play because she knew every nook and cranny of it. And I became fascinated with the history of women who play the role of Hamlet. So that's how it got started.
And right now you've got a woman playing Richard III at Shakespeare in the Park.
Well, there you go. So the world has changed, but it's the lesbian content that's made it hard to get a production for this play. And we're lucky to have gotten a world premiere at the Provincetown Theater, which, you know, Provincetown has a large gay population. And the artistic director is David Drake, who you probably remember from The Night Larry Kramer Kissed Me. And he's one of the few artistic directors who said, where are the lesbian plays? Which is a question I wish they would all ask, but he asked it. And so we finally have had this wonderful opportunity.
I know. How long has it been since Blue Cove, for goodness sakes? But I'm surprised because nowadays, I mean, I see a lot of lesbian plays, so I'm surprised it still has, you know, but again, male domination. The gay plays are in abundance, but not the lesbian plays. That's not fair.
Well, there's actually almost no plays about lesbian adults in the American canon, and most theaters regionally and in New York have never done a world premiere of plays with lesbian protagonists. So it's something for the future, but we're starting it now. And
now, Jennifer Van Dyck, how did you end up being involved in this for 13 years? That's impressive.
Well, Sarah asked me to do a reading. I'd met Sarah through some other plays of hers, and then she asked me to do a reading of the Lady Hamlet, and we went to ART, and Diane Paulus was hosting the event along with Peter Dubois from the Huntington, all in Boston and Cambridge, and we did a reading there, a performance, and I fell in love with the play. And when none of the theaters at that time decided to produce the play, I am not a producer, I'm an actor, but I was determined to try to find a way to get this play done. So Sarah and I began talking about who we knew, who we could contact, and we reached out to artistic directors and theaters all over the country, and everyone to a person said that their audiences weren't ready for this yet, or it wasn't suitable for their audiences. So when you say 13 years, it was a series of workshops, there was a reading, there was a year of nothing happening, there was another year, it was a lot of doors slamming, which as an actor, you're used to. That goes with the territory. But this was a whole different element for me about trying to actually get a play into the hands of a theater that would then produce it. And so we are very lucky to have David Drake, who has a new play workshop at his theater when he took over 4 years ago. I guess we did this in the winter of his first season in 2019. And as a reading, we had a couple of days rehearsal, and we put it up for the audience here. And then the audiences loved it, and David loved it, and said, let's do it in the summer of 2020. Well, we all know what happened then. So the play didn't happen in 2020, then it didn't happen in 2021. But here we are. It's 2022, and we are finally having a world premiere of Sarah Schulman's The Lady Hamlet, and it's thrilling.
It's been an incredible experience. We've had like rave reviews. I mean, I've never seen reviews like that before. And the audiences are so satisfied, and they're so excited, and they're so happy. It's just like a very positive, almost utopian experience.
Plus, we're in Provincetown, which is a beautiful place to be, so that everyone's on vacation who's here. It's kind of delightful.
It's so funny because actors are always being, like you say, waiting for the role. Here you got the role, and now you're just waiting to get you got the cart before the horse almost.
Exactly. That is exactly. And then Sarah with the play that people, respond to positively, but they just won't dare put it on. I mean, that's what, and looking at it now, I mean, there are lines in the play about the character that I play being ahead of my time. And that definitely reflects Sarah's experience, if you don't mind my saying so, that this play has been strangely ahead of its time. It doesn't seem that way to those of us who love the play, but we are now apparently hitting the moment. We're having a love triangle between two women playing Hamlet, and one Ophelia is not only fun and sexy and entertaining, but it's a story that people are eager to hear.
And now we have Bina Sharif joining us in this delightful interview and meeting these people. And anyway, I'm just curious, are people going to come to Provincetown? Do you think they'll see it? And what about Theater for the New City? I'm surprised Theater for the New City, because they do and La Mama, they do innovative stuff.
I don't know. It's up to Sarah Schulman. She has to go to a place maybe a little bit more off-Broadway type.
We need a theater that will produce the show.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, like a subscription house, regionally or in New York.
Yeah. Sarah, listen, the thing is, I know it was canceled by Equity last year, right? And now they kind of gave you the permission. They're paying the actors and everything.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It happened at the same time my show was canceled. That's
right. I remember this.
Yeah.
Yes. Last year, Equity did not allow any mixed casts. Jennifer, is that correct?
Well, they demanded that because of COVID, they moved their season outside, and they were only doing casts of 4 people. So the Lady Hamlet is a cast of 6 people, and it didn't fit in. So they did a small season, very successful season outdoors in a temporary space. But this season, the Provincetown Theater has moved indoors again, and so this production that was slated originally for 2020 is now being done in 2022. So,
right, but last summer, Equity forbid.
They were having contract issues with the contract that I'm on as an Equity member. Because of COVID, there were a lot of rules and regulations that were up for grabs, being rearranged, and they were not allowing any Equity actors in a situation with non-Equity actors because they couldn't control the COVID protocols. So that's what happened last summer, in addition to the board saying we will only do plays with 4 people. They put Sarah's play on hold for another year, and every play they chose.
Yeah,
had-
but I'm very happy that it's going on because my play was canceled at the same time and my place is still sitting there. But okay, that's not the point. I want to ask Sarah, how is it going, number one? And second, how long did it take you? I know you did lots of readings at the New York Theater Workshop and things. You've been in development for a long time. So please tell us the process of the development of your show.
It's very complicated. The show, I think, was ready a long time ago. I would say it was probably ready 15 years ago, but the content was the problem. So there's a whole circuit of workshops, readings that theaters do, but in the end, they really don't intend to produce the play. And I think the more controversial or radical plays get slotted into this kind of development hell that goes on forever, and it's very, very hard to break out of it. It's not a functional system. You know, I mean, you want that because you want the experience with the actors. You meet new actors and it helps you meet directors and get to know the people who run the theater. But in the end, it's a way of controlling the more radical plays and keeping them from production.
So
Who's the other Lady Hamlet, by the way? I mean, there's two divas, so who's the other diva? I'm just curious.
Well, it's based loosely on Sarah Bernhardt, and it's being played by Kate Levy, who's a well-known New York stage actress. She was the standby for Janet McTeer in Bernhardt Hamlet, the Teresa Rebeck play that was just a few seasons ago. So this is familiar territory for her.
And Jennifer's playing Eva?
Yes, the character's named Margot. It's a mashup.
Yeah, it's not directly it's not Eva Le Gallienne and Sarah Bernhardt, but it's based on some of their stories. This is a fictional world that Sarah has created, but it is based on those two incredible actresses.
Yeah.
It's just a great premise because, I mean, I was just at the Origin of Theater lecture, and they were talking about the Astor Place, right, where these two guys were warring, damn Scottish guy, and caused a riot and people died. And here we are just trying to do two warring Lady Hamlets, and it's amazing that it can't be done.
I did a play about that. I did Richard Nelson's Two Shakespearean Actors, which was about
that's right.
that incident. And, you know, it's about two men and it's a company full of men and it's all about men. So we're trying to do a play about women, and that's what we're doing.
Yay.
Yeah, we have the four principals are women of a certain age. And as Jennifer pointed out to me, Ibsen, for example, he could only handle one woman at a time. That was a great insight, Jennifer. But, you know, here we have four really good roles. So I'm hoping that there'll be a future for our play.
Oh, I'm sure there's a future. But Sarah, the story is like Hamlet's story, or is it definitely different?
Oh, it's totally different.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's as a person like you who has put on a lot of plays with like clothes from your own closet, it's about that kind of world. It's about the world of people who have to make theater no matter what, and they don't have any support. And you know, the pathos of that and the humor of that as well.
Is it like a backstage story?
It's a backstage, front stage comedy. Yeah.
So my character has a company like Eva Le Gallienne on 14th Street that is going bankrupt and is running on returning things getting things out of Hawk from the pawn shop to pay the bills. And then you have Kate Levy's character, Hélène de Montpellier, who is a diva from Paris who's coming over. She's being wooed to play. We're both being wooed to play another play on Broadway that's a commercial thing that we don't want to do. Long story short, her character sees my Hamlet, and we have gotten her lover, who plays Ophelia in her production, to play Ophelia in my production, because we're each trying to convince each other the way we play Hamlet. I play Hamlet as a woman, and Kate's character, Hélène, plays it as a man. We're trying to convince each other that our interpretation of Hamlet is the best interpretation of Hamlet. So you have snippets of Hamlet in the play, but the structure of the play is all about this competition between these two women to get their plays on Broadway and to get the hand of Ophelia. So
it's been a great interview. Everyone's so smiling, and it's so nice to see people smiling these days.
Okay.
Thanks so much, ladies.
The best of luck for the remainder.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye,
Nice
everybody
to
wait.
meet you.
Timothy Haskell's The Rise and Fall, then Brief and Modest Rise, followed by a relative fall of Jean-Claude Van Damme, as gleaned by a single reading of his Wikipedia page months earlier, basically gives you the whole plot. John Harlicker, as a dead ringer for Sebastian Cabot, sonorously intones the origin of Van Damme's existence when he was still Jean-Claude Camille Francois von Vandenberg, born in Brussels, and the original way he changed his name. Joe Cordero, looking like Stan Laurel but portraying Van Damme when needed, puts in the cardboard cutouts that are used to illustrate Jean-Claude's life story with an occasional film clip to add more to the hilarity. Occasionally, they take over these animated action figures to fight kickbox style as Van Damme against his fictitious adversaries. And here we have a new reviewer, Alexandra Krasnovsky.
This production is a wonder. Small black box theater with 2 actors running the show, utilizing great narrative, pop-up cutouts, and action figures to tell the story of Van Damme with his true magnificence in the kicks. As aforementioned, oops, just had to use that word again. Then add a touch of Al Pacino and Robert De Niro just for an extra punch. Remember Heat, the diner scene? I shan't give it all away. And get ready. There is some baby oil involved in the finale monologue. Tastefully and expressively done, adding an apologetic note to the romp. This is a story that one can laugh at and laugh with, and even feel the sorrowful pathos. Commendable discourse and interactive play with the actors and the audience. Mr. Harlicher and Mr. Cordaro engage us and don't let go, with both displaying their transformative talents. And yes, if you feel like giving an elegant shout out to them, meaning we're not at a rave or a concert, it's a theater after all, they are more than happy to oblige.
Oh, and I give it a happy face.
I give it a happy face.
Shakespeare's Richard III, that devious villain, is making a killing at the Delacorte in Shakespeare in the Park. With the hump that is implied, Danae Guerrera has taken on the role in a perfect turnaround. In Shakespeare's time, men played all the parts, and now females get a chance to play the male parts. Richard III is very ambitious and removes all obstacles that stand in the way of him becoming king. Who cares if he had to kill all family members and marry the widow of the dead husband he was responsible for? I noticed in this version that not just Richard, but most of the characters were motivated by greed, a sparkly ring, more lands and titles. This is like one of the few Shakespeare plays I really like, and they did such a wonderful job in the part. I just loved it. I thought Danae Guerrera was amazing. I sometimes forgot she was a female, so I'm giving this a happy face.
I would like to introduce these two ladies from Los Angeles today. I believe they are joining us. Susan Loewenberg, well-known film actress, Marsha Mason, and they have produced this wonderful, wonderful audio version of Sinclair Lewis's Babbitt, which is just simply a stunner. There were so many actors. You had to name all of the actors. I think that's just great. You named what, 59 actors?
I don't think we had 59. I think the original group, actually, the reason we did the project is because I got a phone. I run LA Theater Works, and I run it for so many years you don't want to know. But around 1984, I got a telephone call from a woman named Judith Aubergenois, and she told me that a group of very, very distinguished, famous actors had formed a company, and they were interested in affiliating with LA Theater Works. And she started rattling off names like Marsha Mason. And I said, I couldn't believe this was real. Marsha Mason, Richard Dreyfuss, John Lithgow, etc. And so I was skeptical at first, but long story short, I said, okay. And we decided that for our first project, we were going to do something big and make a splash. And we aligned ourselves with KCRW, which was our local NPR station. And over a year and a half, we recorded the entire book word for word. Ed Asner was Babbitt. Marsha, I can't remember what you played.
Oh, I remember that I had to do, I think, 2 or 3 different roles. So I was finding different registers, vocal registers for them, and also speeding them up, slowing them down, or a different rhythm or something. But we had so much fun. It was just amazing. And then to hear it with all these wonderful actors who just really wanted to ply their craft. That's really why we all got together and wanted to do this, because it was something that, nobody was doing at that time.
It is so beautifully done, I have to say so. The way the dialogue flows, the way everything goes together, the way everyone is listening to everyone else, you can tell that these things are actually happening. I mean, it's thrilling.
And also, I mean, the way you describe the towns and everything, you make it sound so exciting. I mean, something as mundane as this, and the way you switch back and forth. And also, I was wondering, how did you figure out who should read what? As in, there's just an embarrassment of riches. And Marsha Mason, did you get to choose what you wanted to, part of it you wanted to read? And of course, you and Richard Dreyfuss together was really quite delightful.
No, I think there was like 13 of us all together or something like that.
Oh, no, there were 34, all 34.
34.
The group that had presented itself and wanted to affiliate with LA Theater Works, there was a group of 34 actors.
That's
And
right.
I said the one condition was that all 34 had to be in the show. And so we assigned parts,
That's right.
Ed was Babbitt, but
Yeah.
everybody else played one or more parts, and then they divided up the narration. When there was narration, whoever, but everybody was busy. And so it took us a year piecemeal in the studio. And then we hired a fantastic editor. He was a guy who worked at Lucasfilm, and it took him about 6 months to edit.
Really what Susan did as a producer was really pretty spectacular, because we hadn't really ever done it before. So kudos to her for putting it all together.
Kudos to the great talent. Anyway, what we did is Ruth Seymour, who was running KCRW, our public radio station, aired it as a special in 1985, an all-day special on Thanksgiving Day. And then NPR got in touch with us, and the BBC, because everybody heard about it. The BBC offered to come over to America and to pay for everything and to record with their top radio producer and director 2 shows, Arthur Miller's The Crucible and Eric Bentley's Are You Now or Have You Ever Been, which is the piece, the docudrama about the Army McCarthy hearings. And of course, The Crucible is a parable about that. And so to this day, The Crucible remains our single bestseller. And that started the group. And 600 plays later, here we are.
I was wondering, how did you get interested in radio drama and putting plays and novels on audio form? And also, how did you get involved in all those impressive political ventures?
We kind of fell into it, actually, because when this group, we were doing theater, we were just doing straight theater. And when the group contacted us, this group of 34 amazing actors, we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. And we thought maybe at first that we were going to form a theater company, and do something, have a home, a big stage, etc. Anyway, a lot of that fell by the wayside for various reasons. And one day Richard Dreyfuss said, I've always loved radio drama because, it was popular in the 30s and 40s. He said, why don't we do that? And that's what set it off, was Richard's comment. And I said, well, let me contact Ruth Seymour at KCRW, see if she's interested. And she jumped on it. And that's how it all started.
How did you come up with the idea of doing Babbitt specifically? Do you remember?
Well, we were searching around for something to do, and I suddenly remembered one of my favorite books was Babbitt. I loved it. I must have read it when I was probably 16 or 18 or something. And I suggested it, and everybody went, yes. And that was it.
Ladies, thank you very much. Eva seems to have been lost. And I want to thank you both for joining us. It's been a lovely day. We'll send you an update.
Wait, I want to say something because I know you can't see me, but I just want to say thank you. And also, when James Caan died, I thought about Cinderella Liberty immediately. And I love Gregory Itzin in 24. So I'm like, I just wanted to do a little remembrance of them.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet.
Yeah.
I know. He was a terrific guy.
We have a little remembrance to Greg on our website.
I know, I saw that. That's why I brought it up. And I'm sorry about the situation, but anyway. Thank you so much for being here, and I
Thanks so
love what
much.
you're doing.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye-bye.
And I'm going to
Bye-bye.
tell everyone I know about your show. They really, really should listen to it.
Thank you.
In Elizabeth Baker's Change, when Charlie Wilson and his wife Lily's boarder, Fred Tennant, announces that he's leaving England to go to Australia, disruption occurs in both the Wilson and the Massey households. Massey is the wife's family. Although he had a safe, steady clerical job, Tennant wanted the freedom to explore the world and live differently. Charlie begins to question his own safe existence as well. And even that is kind of in question because things at the job are not going quite as well as he had hoped. Everybody gets upset when Charlie sort of announces he's thinking about going to Australia with Tennant. The only family member who seems to favor his doing his idea and be supportive is Lily's sister, what's her name again? Maggie, who also is sort of questioning her safe existence. She just got engaged to a really wonderful guy who's very supportive and both financially and emotionally, but she doesn't really love him. And she's not sure she wants to marry just to get a house. So the questions raised about this middle-class existence where people seem safe on the surface, but underneath there's a world of joylessness and compulsion are just as relevant now, today, as in 1909 when it was first shown.
So what will Charlie and Maggie do? Keep to the status quo or take risks and do something more exciting with their lives? And I do agree with Mark. What makes this even more remarkable is that a woman without any experience in playwriting wrote this with such an understanding of all the change exhibited by work in society back in 1909. People choosing security over living is a timeless curmudgeon. As in all men productions, the acting was terrific, the direction perfect, and the production values were stellar. So I give this a happy face. The whole show, I gave everything a happy face. This was a happy show.
I absolutely give it a happy face too.
Thank you to all of our amazing guests who are doing such incredible things. Our next show will be July 30th, and we'll have lots to talk about, especially Broadway Con. And also, I was at Joe's Pub recently to see Taylor Mack doing a show that's going to be coming up next year. So there's a lot going on, and go to our Facebook page and go to YouTube where there'll be lots of stuff going on.